freedom, equality, justice, education, diversity, change. This is Hip Hop Meets Politics.
Hip Hop Politician. Hip Hop Politician. Hip Hop Politician. Hip Hop Politician.
This is Hip Hop Meets Politics with your host, Robert Strada Jr., also known as the Vegas Don, America's first hip-hop artist to run for a U.S. political office. Now, let's get into the conversation.
He hasn't been tested, but he's been having the coronavirus symptoms, and we just want to talk to him about what he was going through, what America is going through. You know what I'm saying, Doug? What's up, Robby?
Hey, what's going on, people? I'm so glad to be here. Glad that I could join you and share a little bit of my experience with you this morning, man.
Oh,
this
yeah.
afternoon.
I dig it, man. Right now, it's trying times for America. And,
absolutely.
I just wanted, first of all, to say thank you. And it's a blessing that you still feeling good today. I know you was quarantined for like 14 days.
Yes.
You had the symptoms of coronavirus. You haven't been tested yet, but can you dive into that and let us know like what was going on? How did you figure that this monster was near you?
Well, thank you for the opportunity to share this part of my story with you, man. So about maybe 2 weeks ago, I started having some feverish symptoms, not quite, an elevated temperature, but certainly a little bit different than I'm used to. And, started noticing some other kinds of symptoms and, headaches, a little bit of sore throat and so forth and so on. So I started to sort of quarantine myself away from my wife. At that point, you're kind of hearing all these, different conversations about what to look for with this COVID-19. My partner and I, my other business partner, we do a lot of work with the MGM company. And we know that they actually shut down their facilities and because some folks over there had tested positive. So we knew that perhaps the proximity might be room to be a little bit more cautious. Nonetheless, man, I started feeling a little bit of shortness of breath. When you're starting to feel shortness of breath, that concerns you, And so that was my first trip to the ER. I went to the ER just to make sure, everything was fine. Because the symptoms were not severe enough, they didn't test me. Nonetheless, they actually told me to go home, do liquids and that kind of thing. So I went home, and you know what? I felt better after that. And between day 4, 5, and 6 is when the shortness of breath started to really feel like, somebody was starting to sit on my chest. I would kind of, describe that a little differently, but
I see
at the end of the day, yeah, right. felt like somebody was, just sitting on my chest, man, and it scared the crap out of me. And that was the second time I went to the hospital just to make sure that I wasn't having some type of lung issue or what have you. That night I didn't go to sleep.
What happened at the hospital? Why they didn't let you stay there?
Well, when you look at what they were saying, they sort of follow the CDC guidelines, right? They're saying that you need to be, you need to have a fever, you need to have a cough, and unless you're really experiencing shortness of breath where you basically can't breathe on your own, they're not going to admit you, and they probably won't test you. So for me, I was not experiencing fever. I was not coughing. To this day, I haven't really had those two symptoms consistently.
Right.
But what was really getting at me, man, was that I had headaches, I got chills, little bit of flu symptoms, like you got the stuffy nose. But the real thing for me, man, was that the chest feeling like it, there's something resting in there, or there's a sharp pain when you inhale. I never got to the point of not being able to breathe on my own, which was kind of the only reason why I felt somewhat that I was getting better and I wasn't getting worse. But there were times, man, I was like a second away. I mean, I had the phone on the bed, you know, and my wife and I were quarantined. So I can't really get to her. She can't get to me unless, you know, you compromise the situation, right?
Wow.
I had the phone and I had the ready to dial, man. I got within a second or so of dialing to the hospital and say, hey, I'm coming down there because I can't sleep. I'm getting these pains, and it's really crazy. It was so bad, bro, one night that you know, I got down and started writing, and I was writing a letter to my wife, man.
Stop it, man.
Wow.
You understand what I'm saying? Because you don't know where this is going. The word I want to use for this disease I got from my sister, who's actually on the front lines. She's a nurse. And there's some stuff that she was saying that's going down right now. It's going to be so crazy. But she said the word is insidious.
Insidious.
The word is insidious. The disease, the virus is insidious. And essentially, you know, you don't see it coming, man, but it's coming, bro. You know what I mean? It's coming, and it acts like it's getting better, right? So first few days for me, I was cool. I felt the symptoms, and I you know, things kind of normalized, and I felt better. You know, I'm like, okay, I could do this. Then the third, you know, then that second wave comes, and the symptoms get a little bit greater. And then it kind of tapers off. Then I got another wave, right? I just went to the ER this morning because even though I felt I'm getting better, I still felt this weird feeling and sensation in my chest. And I'm like, I don't want my lung I don't want to feel like I have some prolonged issue that snuck up on me. You know what I mean? So bro, there's you need to take this as serious as possible, because when you're laying in the bed, it is not a pandemic. That's personal. You understand what I'm saying? It ain't a global issue when you laying in the bed and you can't breathe. You understand what I'm saying? So you really need to make sure. The one thing that would help people in this kind of situation is if you took care of your body and your immune system is strong enough to fight this virus, because there is no vaccine, there is no help. There is, even if you go to the hospital, they give you some oxygen. But if you have to be admitted, you know, the disease is progressing in a way that you don't want it to. So it doesn't matter if you're old, young, whatever. The important thing is that you really try to make sure you don't open yourself up to being exposed to it. And be vigilant about washing your hands and, you know, protecting your face and all of that, because at the end of the day, once it gets in your body, there's very little you can do.
Man, that sounds like disaster right there, because, you know, my son's like, he's in Sweden, and like a week ago, he was like, yeah, that's just America. Now it's hitting Sweden, and now he's talking about they have better health care to this, to that. I say, I don't care if you're rich, poor, better health care, not matter. It's taking away doctors, taking out doctors and nurses, the frontline police officers, taking out, it don't even have a name to nothing. You don't know, you can sneeze. I chew. Somebody sneezed an hour before you got to send it. And you walk through there like this, you don't see the little thing you can barely see with microglass, and boom, and it then went in, you went to your throat, boom, now you got it. You don't know.
Bro, you understand? I'm walking around with this right now.
What is that?
Sanitizer. Hand sanitizer.
Got you.
All right, man. This is what I got to do around the house now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't have my wife getting, you know, whatever breathing that happens in this room. I'm in my own little room here.
You spray Lysol? You got Lysol?
I do, but I think the most effective, based on what I'm listening, I've been basically just gorging on stuff that have to do with this issue, because I need to know what I'm dealing with. And the hand sanitizer is probably the best thing, because even though you might be breathing something, most of the time it's something you touch and you put in your face, and it's getting to the eyes, to the nose, and through your mouth. So anytime you touch anything, make sure you sanitize as much as possible, because that kills the stuff on your hands.
Right.
And if you can wear a mask around people, here's the problem, bro. There's a lot of people walking around that don't realize that they may have been exposed. I didn't know, you know what I mean? And if you go to the hospital with symptoms, if you don't have a mask on, you're exposing yourself to something too. So it's the worst kind of situation, bro, that you could possibly experience, because there is no protection. There's a shortage of masks for doctors. If a doctor is dying, I don't want to be the bringer of this sort of dark story, but if the doctors are dying and nurses are dying and people that are waiting in line, you got to have seen what's happening in New York City.
Man,
right? It can be very, very detrimental to vulnerable populations, right? Vulnerable meaning you got underlying issues, health issues.
Condensed
and then density is an issue, right? A city like Vegas, thank God they shut it down, because everybody's coming through here, right? One person in the casino could infect 10 people, 10 people can infect 100 people, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So it's a very serious issue if we don't take charge of our own situation. And it can scare the crap out of you on an individual level. So there are a lot of good, yes.
Yeah, we're all praying, it's like, It seems like everyone that I've talked to knows someone or someone, someone else who has contracted it or has symptoms or what have you. We were talking a little bit earlier about how this has kind of changed your viewpoint. And I think it's changed everyone's view on how we see life, how we deal with ourselves day to day together as a community, how we keep ourselves healthy with the things that we touch and things like that. What are some perspectives, man, that you could share to our audience that has, not made you a better person, but has made you look at things differently?
More aware.
I tell you that, there's a lot of different things, man. You think a lot, and I'm a writer. A lot of you guys may not know that, but I've written a few books. So it got me back thinking about ideas, especially ideas to help improve our situation once we get past this. For example, how could we be better strategically prepared for a pandemic situation in communities like ours, right? So there are things I'm writing about. But on a personal level, man, when you're laying on your bed and you're thinking, is this going to go left or right? You don't think about, you don't think about politics, right? Let me just get you.
Yes, you don't think about money.
You don't think about money.
You just want to live.
You don't think about no money. You don't think about, you know what I'm saying? Ain't a whole lot of stuff you think about. You think about, I need to really, what kind of message am I going to get to my wife? Who's going to handle this when I'm gone? You know what I mean? Who's going to handle that, right? Those are the kinds of questions you start to really look at, am I leaving good debt or bad debt? You understand what I'm saying? so there is some real tough kinds of questions. Who do I want at my memorial, right? Those are real poignant questions that you start, man, do I really need to put that out there like right now? And how's this conversation going to happen? Because you're in one place, let's say you're in a hospital, right? And you're on a respirator. You can't have a conversation with your loved ones. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
A lot of those people that are, God bless them, man, and pray for these folks that are unfortunately getting taken out by this virus. They're dying alone, right? They're dying in a hospital bed. They went in to be checked and they never came out. Their families don't know, when they're going to be able to bury him, because we got an unprecedented shelter in place mandate, right? Across the board, across the country. You ain't going to see a funeral for 6 months probably, right? So what does all of this mean? You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. This is unprecedented in all kinds of situations, bro. Ain't nobody ever had to deal with something like this.
No, it's like zombie movies.
So to answer your question, what does that make you think about? It shakes the very foundation of what we knew to be our lives, right?
Right.
Because you gotta go back to the drawing board and plan for a worst case scenario times 10.
Cool. So from a spiritual aspect, how has it affected you? Because it's affected me. I mean, I get on my knees a little bit harder now. You feel me? I'm trying to increase my connection with, the Creator, because at the end of the day, we all are going to die at some point. I mean, that's just the reality of what we live in. And so I try to find comfort in just that, because, and so I'm going to shout out to my mental folks. I know you're having a tough time, like me. And it's hard to deal with, man. So it brings me closer to God. I feel emotional about it, because it ain't really me that's I'm worried about. I'm worried about my family. I'm worried about my kids. I'm worried about the world. Where are we going, man? Like, why is this happening, God? You know, and I bear this burden every day of my life. And most of us do in some way, form, or fashion. But for someone like you, who is a little bit closer than us, how does this affect your spirituality?
Well, I would say this, man. I let God determine who's closer to who, right? He might have a different point of view, right? So, but I do have a sense of spirituality. I do pray, and I was praying more for. I want to get better, but I was praying that I don't interrupt my wife's situation, right? Because we're in the same house. And it also made me a little bit more compassionate. But bro, I'm praying for people that I know is on life support, right? Because even though I'm having symptoms that they sort of categorize as not severe, but mild. I'm like, mild, bro? Wow. You know what I'm saying? Mild.
That was worse than the flu, huh?
Yeah, right. So there are people that are worse off than I am. I'm praying for those folks. So to your question, it makes me more compassionate. I'm going to be a different human being, bro. I'm going to be a different human being in the sense that we have to shift how we look at the world and what's important to us, and how we navigate our community spaces, and how we prepare for the unknown, because this this virus is definitely the symptoms that people saw in Wuhan. And some of them are different from what is being seen here in the United States.
Right.
Like you lose taste and hearing, taste and smell. They didn't have that as a big issue in Wuhan, but we're seeing different types of diarrhea and all this other stuff. People are seeing different things. My mom told me she got symptoms and she's having, pain in her skin. I mean, there's all kinds of things happening with this thing. So it might be morphing into different. It's approaching different people, different things, right? Yeah. But overall, brother, I think there's going to be different kind of sense of community, because Republicans are getting the disease. Democrats, I don't care, you're independents. It doesn't matter what you are, black or white. There is going to be fallout from this that is going to be pretty bad. But there's also going to be a lot of stories of resilience. And I think we need to be aware that going forward, how do we address it as a community, as a family, right? So that, and then the people that have lost loved ones, how can we support them? You know, I think that's kind of where my heart and my mind and my spirit and my soul is.
Yeah, because I was talking to my homeboy, what's up, Muhammad, out in Detroit, and he was saying how hard Detroit is getting hit. You already know Detroit is from the water to whatnot. He said he had 4 individuals die from virus, and then he said he was speaking to his grandmother who went through that pandemic in the 1918 or 19.
Yeah, the
went through that, and I think he was like, she had like 7 or 8 other things, and 5 of them died. She was one of the only ones that made it through that, where millions died.
Yeah, so 100 million people died worldwide.
You know what saved? You know what saved a lot of people? Masks back then.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
because I think back then most people died of dehydration, from what I understand. But this is a different issue. We're talking about, breathing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, wow, bro, Robby. I don't know what to say, man. But you're a brave man.
Listen, man. You when you ain't got no choice.
Right. You fighting for your life. You gotta stand over your back and you gotta swing at it,
Bruh, it's like getting in a fight. You ain't got no choice, man. You better be swinging.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, you gotta swing. When people use the word, the WHO and everybody else, CDC, use this term pandemic, and I get it. That's the 10,000 foot level situation. But when it's in your household, it is not a pandemic.
Man.
It is your battle.
Right.
Disaster.
You feel me? Yeah, it's your personal battle for survival. And the one thing that you do is you make sure you do what is being recommended, what's best for you. But the most important thing is to be ahead of the curve, and that is to take care of yourself.
So what are they asking you to do? Just rest a lot, eat good foods?
Liquids. Most of the, advice you're getting is give your immune system what it needs to fight the virus.
So what, Gatorade, water?
I'm water, man. I haven't been messing anything. I do a little latte here and there. My wife brings me something, once in a while. But for the most part, it's a lot of water. I go to Jamba, or I have her go to Jamba and get one of them shots. Those cayenne,
protein
lime,
shot.
Ginger.
Yeah.
And down in as much of that stuff as I can. Any kind of natural boost to your immune system would be very helpful.
Ginger,
I want to
garlic,
say, I do want to say this, man, and this is going to be real sad in a lot of ways. A lot of two things. The health system is so inundated that they're on the verge of collapsing, right? Because the disease hasn't peaked yet. And hospitals are being forced to think about an age limit cutoff for servicing people that come in with really, really bad symptoms, severe enough to get on to, life support or whatever. They got to make some decisions about who and what they can, that ain't going to be public, but in certain parts of Europe, that's already happening, right? That's a conversation happening right now at hospitals that may not be public. I know that, right? So they actually had some conversation about 60 years old and up. And then there was some pushback about, 65. For the folks that are in the industry, the healthcare industry, they need a lot of support, man. They need, whatever we can do to help support them, whether that be staying home. If you're a person of prayer, pray, hand sanitizing, whatever it can. Families that might be going through, whatever we can do to support each other in this crisis, we need to do it. But there's some really, really bad things. And, there's a lot more I can say because I've been sitting for 2 weeks thinking and really trying to make sense of a lot of this. But this is far from over. There's going to be a lot of good news, a lot of great stories coming out of this, a different kind of attitude about who we are. One last point. perhaps we can even start talking about churches that are empty. Maybe we can start reshifting and retooling them to be wards for people that might be, needing medical attention.
Right.
Maybe we can outfit them, buildings that might be vacant, right?
Yeah.
So those are things that we can do. So, but I'm encouraged by some of the stuff I'm hearing. But man, the courage of these nurses and doctors that keep going to work when they know that they're exposing themselves every single day to potential risk that they can't even go home and hug their family.
Man,
So-
they on the front line. I put it like they're at war. World War II, Vietnam, Iraq. They out there fighting, and it's nothing but respect because they actually getting a lot of casualties that's coming
sir.
from the front line, from paramedics to police officers to doctors to nurses, even volunteers that's helping the nurses and doctors. It's crazy, and I just want to first of all thank you for giving us that knowledge and
Appreciate
information.
it, man.
Our community definitely needs it, and I'm glad you're here with us on this special coronavirus segment. I'm glad that you're here to give us this information, but I want to get into the stimulus packages that's going on that Trump, first of all, I want to speak to our community, and that's all of the individuals that's unemployed.
Yeah.
I went through calling the unemployment agencies, and the line stays busy. You can call at like 7:59, 8 o'clock is when you can call. It stays busy for like 2 hours straight. And then when you do get through, it say, we have went over the call flow, so you have to call tomorrow. So you know what I'm saying? I'm just touching bases with individuals that are going through that. Hang in there. I tried to do the internet. Basically, filing unemployment now, it's like finding a tomb in Egypt. You get what I'm saying? They don't make it easy for you to get your money, which it should be easy like it was back in the day. There's so many people with problems trying to fax paperwork, stressed out, can't pay no bills, can't eat. They need to change that system also, because I'm going through it and I'm living it. And I know that's why I'm sitting here talking to individuals, tell them don't give up. Get up in the morning, call at 7:59, and keep trying to tag in as much as possible. I know it's overwhelming. I know you feel hopeless. I know like today I felt hopeless when it was like a whole 2 hours of me calling, and at 10 o'clock, they tell me when I'm thinking I'm getting through, I got through, and then they tell me I'll call tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
I get it.
Right, I would just tell the individuals that's going through stuff like this, okay, keep fighting for it. Try to file for food stamps. Go file online for food stamps, for medical, whatever you can, for department. I want to tell them it's always hopefully different options that you can do besides stress out about not being able to contact unemployment, because it's real. Millions of people are calling the line, especially in Vegas, and everywhere, not just Vegas, everywhere. So I want to give some insight on that and let people know I'm feeling their pain because I'm going through it. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? I'm hoping that something like this, as we try to look at positives from a political standpoint, and I mean political not as in what we would typically see as politics. Like Robert, for instance, right? Robert's running for U.S. Congress District 1 here in Las Vegas, right? We need more people like Robert in office because he understands us. Whereas you've got people that are right now, I'll say the majority of them, really don't understand us, and they're really not for us. And so, if anything, let this be a catalyst or a jump kick to put people like Robert in office who are really going to represent. And the more real average people who become politically active to take the seats of those that are taking money from lobbyists and don't have our best interests at heart, we can start to change. Because what I'm fearing is that after this is all said and done, and even though you may have Republicans and Democrats who may have caught it, or family members, all that when it finally, praise God, subsides, that, yeah, it'll be smoke and mirrors, and then we'll just go right back to the same old thing again. And we can't go back to the same way after this, man. We can't.
Yeah. Well, I not only agree with both of you, man. I think, to sort of add to that conversation, one of the things that I learned in this whole process, I actually saw a TED Talk from Bill Gates about a few years ago. He talked exactly about the same issue. He said that the next major crisis in the world will have less to do, the next war we have may not be with missiles, but with microbes. Okay. And so said, and he talked about the coronavirus being a potential major pandemic.
Wow.
And he was talking about that 3 or 4 years ago, right?
Wow.
Here we are. The reason that we're in the situation we're in is because we are not prepared, right? So to Robert's point, one of the things you can take to heart in terms of building your platform is about being prepared to deal with a potential crisis like this, right? We should never, ever, as a nation, as a community, as a district, whatever, congressional district, be ever facing something where we're just so ill prepared that it's going to cost us everything. Economic fallout is going to cost us lives. It's going to cost us all kinds of, the institutions that we hold dear. And just because we want to be political and we don't want to be practical.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So let's look at it that way. Right now, the entire system is overwhelmed. So calling the phones, when I was trying to get through for that online doctor, there were 50 people ahead of me on the call. There were about 12 doctors on that online platform. Each one of them had about 30 or 40 calls waiting for them. So everybody is backed up, overwhelmed, whether it be calling to get your benefits or whatever. It's going to slow down, but man, the system is getting jammed just because this is unprecedented.
Can I say one more quick thing? And that's just such a real point. I'm going to say something that someone told me recently. And it was really deep for me because it made me look at the possibility of a real bigger picture in the whole thing. And it has to do with greed. The world has stopped, literally, right? The world has stopped to a degree. People aren't driving as much. So what does that mean? That means less pollution. I'm hearing, like in San Francisco, the wildlife is moving into the city. Because I think the planet, this is a weird thought, but the planet is like, stop, man. Stop it before you ruin everything. We got to breathe. I watch Planet Earth and some of these Earth shows to kill my time to try to put something positive into my spirit. And every one of these shows talks about global warming. And it shows examples of how the ecosystem is being torn down from Antarctica, from bees, from
everywhere, man,
from Malibus, from deers, and like that whole process is being maligned right now. And if these species don't survive, we won't either, right? And so from some weird kind of way, maybe the world is just like, we got to slow y'all down before you tear this whole planet apart. What's your perspectives on that thought? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I explained that well enough, but you understand where I'm at.
You're on the same plane that I am. I'm a big nature fan. I've seen a lot of this up close. Like I've been to the rainforest in Brazil. You know what I mean? I've seen deforestation. I've seen a lot of that stuff up close. I understand ecosystems a little bit better than the average bear. So I get it. Fracking, I know, right? Exactly right. I've seen that stuff up close, and I'm a big advocate for slowing this whole process down, and how the culture is pushing back civilization is pushing out into the wildernesses, right? Even here in Vegas, bro. There's a conversation we need to have. One interesting observation. I was at a conference once that was dealing with this whole notion of global warming and all this other stuff. And the brother who was doing this was a professor, MIT guy, very brilliant dude who studied this stuff. He said, we don't have an energy problem. We have a development problem. We don't know how to develop sustainably, right? So we're doing everything that we can to dismantle the natural order of things. We're moving into areas that these microbes would have been probably contained, especially like Chinese folk who eat everything, right? And I'm not knocking their cuisine or what they eat, but the point is, we're so close to where these animals would have lived and be able to keep those viruses contained that we've bridged that gap.
Yeah, because we invaded their
exactly
right? And why? Because of money.
Well, because of greed, because of population, right? Population explosion. Yeah. And as a result, to your point, Doug, yeah, these microbes are saying, you know what? I need more room.
Hey, so, with that being said, man, we just want to hopefully inform the world on us changing to be better individuals and think about the world and our future, which is our youth, instead of just thinking of right now. You know what I'm saying? And it's time to change how the old ways are, and we have to conform into a new type of living, which is like natural energy, and like you said, stop cutting down trees to build an apartment complex to get more money.
You know what?
Doing that.
There's a show that I've been watching. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I wanted to say one thing also. It's totally off subject, but also I was them $1,200 stimulus checks that are coming to you individual out there. If you're like me and I didn't get the deposit because somebody tried to steal my identity, so I changed it over. By the time I figured it out, they had to mail my income tax check to me. So you getting your income tax mailed to you, the $1,200 stimulus check, you have to go online. It'll be online in a week, and then it'll walk you through the steps that you have to go through in order to get the check. Don't think you're gonna be sitting there getting a check if you don't have a direct deposit. You're not getting a check unless you go to IRS and you download this it says stimulus package, and you got to fill out all this stuff to get your check. So I want can't eat and waiting on the check and don't get it because it's a direct deposit check that will be there. But if you're getting it mailed to you, you have to do a few steps on the IRS website. But what you can do?
Oh no, man! I was going to say something that was a little bit unrelated, but related. I would hope that we move back to a time or a new era where greed doesn't rule our worlds, and that we learn to sustain ourselves intelligently. Like, if I was an alien, let's just say, right? If I was an alien, right? And we were like, yo, man, let's go down and check out the Earth, fam, see what's going on out there. And we go down and we just observe. We'd be like, nah, we don't want this, fam. You know what I'm saying? I think sophisticated, more intelligent societies would look at us and say, wow, they got it all wrong. You know what I'm saying? And I hope, like, I watched this show called Life Under Zero. It's on the Disney app, okay?
Yeah.
And it's about these families in Alaska that are living off of the land. And their whole purpose in life at that point is to eat. Is to eat, much like animals are. Their life is to eat. When you see a coyote roaming around in the desert, he's just not kicking it. He's trying to eat.
Right.
What we do, we not only want to eat, but we want to eat and make sure other people don't eat.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the big corporate companies and the big conglomerates and, you know, the 1%ers and all that, man, who don't think about average everyday people. So I would love to see a society where we are sustainable, like Robby said, but not on a greed level. that we're all equal on one plane. How can we make that happen? Ideology. It's ideology. Most people are followers, man. They're just going to follow what you tell them.
Yeah. But check this out. This real interesting point. What this virus has done is really expose the gaps in our thinking. For example, the place that this disease broke out, this virus broke out, Wuhan, China, according to what I read, 20% of the world's manufacturing comes from that area.
Wow.
So these major corporations that were dependent on that as their supply chain,
right,
totally devastated.
Wow.
So to your point, we have to rethink in terms of the strategies that we use when we start doing business again, whether or not we want to put ourselves in that situation again.
United States business, right? Like it was back in the day, it's more United States business instead of outsourcing. We need to insource, get more American jobs.
It's greed that forced that move.
Because it's
cheap to go to cheap labor markets, right?
Right, NAFTA. That's right. That's what NAFTA is all about. You know what I'm saying? That's the reason why they came up with it. Yeah, man, we could probably go on for years. And
I get it, bro. This is the world.
But putting brothers and sisters like Robert in office, you know, can help us get to where we need to go. Because without that, you know, the big guys are just going to continue to win, man. And so when you think about who we're voting in office locally, nationally, think about voting in someone who's real, who doesn't sound rehearsed, who didn't go to school to be a politician. They just want to make the world a better place on the real.
That's it. You know, if we have more people like that, I feel like it would have been in a better situation right now.
There are people like that. We just have to make people like you popular.
Exactly.
Because when that happens, trust me, man, America follows, man. We followers. Don't nobody want to think too much. They just, you know what I'm saying? But if we make someone like you popular, getting in office, doing some real stuff, then everybody else will be like, yeah, let's keep putting these real guys in office because it's popular now.
Right.
I don't know, man. That's just my perspective.
We have to figure that out. You know?
I hear campaign manager in your future, bro.
I'm just a heavy supporter. You know what I'm saying? I'm a big supporter.
You can write a check too if you want, bro.
You know what I'm saying?
Hey, I know we getting ready to have to zoom out because I think it's a limit of the minutes or whatnot on your part, but I should have did it on my part because I have unlimited minutes. But I just want to leave with telling America, keep your head up, like Tupac said. You know, it's could be greater times. Hopefully, some information that I gave you about the unemployment, food stamps, your $1,200 stimulus check. You can get that together and get that check in 3 weeks to hopefully put some food in the fridge. Go to the websites. If you're a buyer or you're a homeowner, go and call your company. Try to get a 90-day extensions for COVID-19 virus. They're giving you a 90-day extension, but you have to call and tell on. And if you're a renter and whole landlord knows, because I hear we have a no eviction, you can't kick them out, whatnot. So hopefully if you're around, I know it's hard times. Like I said, I'm living like you guys. I know it's hard, but you're talk to whoever you're renting from and see if they'll give you an extension. If not, it's in Vegas, you can't get evicted or anything right now because it is COVID-19. So I just hope families that are living just how I explained, keep your head up. Please don't give up. Google churches that are giving out food because it's individuals stuff that are giving out food.
Hey, shout out to Central Church, man. They doing it big.
Central Church in Vegas
shout
did
out
it.
To Central Church.
So, you know, I'm just trying to, you know, cramp a whole bunch of information in this special podcast to just inform our listening audience. I know there's parents out there that have kids, but Google churches and food organizations that are giving food, dropping food off, or you can go and you can pick up some food. One love, as hip hop meets politics, you know, keep your head up, and we are going to get through this, America. One love.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
Peace.
We out.